What's up, guys? Welcome back to Feast or Famine with the Youngs.
We are the Youngs, and we have another non-young.
We have a non-young. We have a guest today. Who do we have?
Hey guys, my name is Mark Joe. I'm owner of Omen Coffee Co. And yeah, that's it. I'm happy to be here.
Welcome. Thank you for being on our podcast. We really appreciate
Mark's
it.
a coffee guy.
What makes you guys call it Feast or Famine?
Ooh,
That's a good question.
that is a good
You're
question.
the first person to actually ask that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So
It was your idea. It was your name.
This was kind of my brainchild in 2020 because COVID, and we're in the event industry.
Yeah.
And the event industry got hit real hard during COVID because obviously you couldn't be around people, and the event industry is literally around people. Mm-hmm. So we were literally like battling like how to do reschedules and how to navigate it in our industry and still actually be able to make money and make a living.
Yeah.
And so we were trying to pivot and figure out other ways, not to really make money, but just kind of like share our experiences and help other companies that were doing the same thing. And the idea of Feast or Famine came in. I'm like, in business, it is literally feast or famine. Yeah. You're either...
Or you go through...
both sides of it throughout your business all the time. I'm sure you
your
get
journey.
that.
Yeah.
But
that's funny.
If you're not like feeding yourself and constantly just like working on the business and trying to grow it, you're going to get those periods of famine. And literally when there's famine in business, you're not eating. Literally, that's your livelihood.
There's no growth. You're just kind of steady.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah. I always say you eat what you kill,
Yeah.
So similar concept, but yeah, like as an entrepreneur, like you eat what you kill. Like you can stay home today if you want to, but you ain't gonna eat,
right?
And that's cool. I like that.
I could make my schedule, but
everybody always says, "Oh, it must be nice to work for yourself." Yeah, all right,
until you're working like 24 hours a day, literally.
Well, literally, yeah. I mean, so Omen's been open. We opened Omen in March, and we're open 7 days a week, and we're understaffed. And so I've worked 7 days a week, 10 to 18 hours a day since March.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I feel like though, like just as an outside perspective, I feel like Omen is like a well-established coffee shop. Like I didn't know that it had opened in March. I thought it had been around for at least a year.
Well, we put on a good face,
Yeah.
we put on a good face.
There's merit to fake it till you make it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You're not really faking it.
Yeah.
But
No. We're really not. We were just having a conversation about this yesterday, but like, I don't know. Like I gave a talk once to a group of young entrepreneurs, and it's interesting. Now being, I think I'm like 8 months removed from that talk. It was before we even opened. And so I had like a little bit of audacity to like title the talk what I did. But the title of the talk was "It's So Easy to Be the Best." And I went in and basically the whole discussion was, from my perspective, it seems like the standard of quality of service and quality of product in most industries has dropped so low that all you have to do to be the best in any given space is just do it the way you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Like you don't have to do anything extra. Just do it the way you're supposed to do it, and you will literally dominate because most people are operating under the standard. Most people, like, I think they naturally play to the level of the competition. So they get into a field and they look around and they're like,
and then they get comfortable.
What is everybody else doing?
Yeah.
Exactly. And like, okay, so I just can't be the worst, Yeah. And dude, that's such an interesting thing. When I used to manage people in my former career, I observed that like most people are content. Like if you have a whole team and you list everybody on a team and everybody has a score, like most people just don't want to be last. Like they just don't want to have the lowest score. And observing this helped me a lot as a manager because I always assume that everybody operates the same way that I do, which is if I'm not the highest score,
you're not first or
then
last.
I'm losing.
Yeah.
You're not first or last.
Exactly. But yeah, so I gave this talk and, it's so easy to be the best. And then we opened, and it's funny because I can say now that even only 7 months in, like Omen, we do more daily revenue and see more daily customers than most coffee shops in St. Louis. And we've only, been open for 7 months. But like what we were talking about yesterday is we just do the basics really well. Like we just like say hi to people when they walk in, and we like make coffee the way you're supposed to.
I will say, like, it took us a while to get out there because we just don't go downtown very much, other than for work.
And if we're working, we're not getting coffee.
Yeah. But we had heard that like the customer service was just like astronomically great. Yeah. And so I'm not gonna lie, we went in with like an expectation based off of what my friends told me, and we walked out and I was like, okay, yep,
absolutely correct.
That was correct.
Right. Really?
Like, yeah, your barista was like talking to me about my tattoos and like made a really personal like connection and conversation with me, and I was like, damn. Hell yeah.
It's pretty damn simple.
That's what it's about.
It isn't hard to just be friendly.
It's pretty damn simple. You have to actually just be glad. I don't know. It's just a perspective thing, I think. Like, I'm truly grateful for everybody that walks through the door. And like, if I can just like, I don't need to communicate that, but if I can communicate it without actually saying it, by like showing you that I'm glad that you came.
Yes,
like there's an energy when you walk in. Like you're not walking into a coffee shop that's full of a bunch of corporate people that are just hate their job, and you. In general, you notice that stuff, even if it's not being said. Yeah, and that's not there. You don't get that when you walk into Omen. I mean, we've only been there once, but no, it's been a lot of fun. It really has, and I don't know. I think the world could use a lot more of that. You know, it's really just bringing sincerity and presence, and being where your feet are, being present with the customer that's in front of you to every conversation, and like that's what wows people. And then they come back and they don't know why they love Omen, and it's just because
it's the energy. It's how you feel.
Attention to you.
Yeah, and I 100% agree. Like everything that we do, every business that we have, we obviously like want our product or whatever we're doing to be great, but the most important thing to us is that it feels good to people, and that people, want to be around us and they like us. And it's not like we want to be liked. We want to make people feel comfortable. Yeah. And we want to, as photographers and videographers, we want people to feel confident. So it's all about like the vibe and the energy that we give off that makes other people feel good. Yeah. So I 100%
We have to do that because, I mean, for instance, I hate being on camera. Yeah. Surprisingly enough.
Me too.
I do too.
So being that way and having clients that are just like not comfortable being on camera.
Yeah, they're the same.
I get it. Look, I get it. We had a wedding recently that the groom was just probably in our entire career the most uncomfortable on camera that we've ever had. Yeah.
And we had to adjust our approach.
Yeah, we had to like lean on the bride a lot just to help him pull him out of his shell. And I was constantly reiterating like, look, I get it. I hate this too. Yeah. From your perspective.
Yeah, and you got to be personable. You got to make them comfortable for sure. Yeah. Heck yeah.
So
do you guys have a lot of I mean, who's your main audience on this podcast? Is it like?
Well, it's kind of changing now because I will say, I think most of our listeners are like photographers, videographers,
other industry people.
Yeah. Got it. But we are seeing more clients and like potential clients that are coming and listening to this podcast. Like this week, I got an inquiry for a wedding next year, and we weren't available for the date. But she was like, "I'm really sad because I listen to your podcast every week." And I was like, "Oh my god, like that's so great!" And a lot of our brides listen to it. I did an engagement session a couple weeks ago, and the bride was like, she was like, "You'll have to like talk to my mom on the wedding day. She's really excited to meet you. She listens to your podcast." I'm like, oh my god, that's like sick. What? That's insane.
And we try to keep it business oriented, specific to our industry, but I mean, in business, things are pretty much
the same principles.
The principles apply everywhere.
The same principles that make you good in business make you likable in real life and improve the quality of your life too. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, awesome.
So a little birdie told me that you have quite the journey.
Who's the little birdie?
I think it was actually you. Oh. You on social media.
Well, Chloe told us.
Chloe told us a little bit about it.
You must know Chloe because she knows you.
The real estate Chloe?
Yes. Yeah. She's so we did video for her wedding, and she's a really good friend of ours. We love her.
She's awesome.
Shout out to Chloe.
Dude, I've met such cool people at the coffee shop. But
I'm sure,
Chloe drives. She lives out here, right?
I think she lives in St. Charles.
No, she lives in, but she lives somewhere far, like out here.
Further,
Or like Wildwood or something.
And she drives all the way down there.
I know.
Like a couple times a week just to get coffee.
She is what I would say, I haven't known her long, but in the short time that I have known her, she's probably one of the most fiercely loyal people so cool. I've ever met. Yeah. She's so sweet. I love her.
Like she connects with somebody or likes something. Like that's where she goes.
Yeah, I believe she had her husband come to the men's group and everything.
Yeah,
like
Brooks is cool.
Like, Brooks, you're coming.
Yeah, Brooks is cool.
But yeah, I mean, I've had a ride. I think most people have. You know,
everybody's got their story, and that's what we like. I like different perspectives. Like Veronica has her story we've shared on here. I have my story we've shared on here. And you've got a pretty dramatic story with how you've kind of come up from literally rock bottom. And then now you have a successful coffee company. And didn't you guys win like some like best coffee shop this year?
No, we were in the running.
Okay.
It came down to the final. We made it to the final 5 of voting. But it's unclear how, like, after you make it past that round,
how that actually.
Which one was it? Which one was it? What was it through?
STL Bucket List. They host
Okay.
they host a Locals Choice Award.
Oh.
And the voting narrows it down to the top 5, and then we don't know how the actual winner is chosen, but they chose like Caldi's, I think.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, awesome.
That to be
Tell me something I didn't know.
To be very transparent about that kind of thing, like Riverfront Times and stuff like that. A lot of these awards, I hate to break it to people, are based on ad sales.
Well, they're paid for, yeah.
So like if they paid for an ad package and they're missing a certain, they can use that as part of the ad package.
I know, and not only that, this is why. So with Omen, I don't participate in any of it because like even like the local influencers, like we have a couple good ones like STL Foodies, and we have there's a couple I can't think off the top of my head, but STL Bucket List is one of them, and they're probably the biggest local small business. They shine the light on small businesses, but they all play this game. And what opened my eyes to what you're saying is the Riverfront Times is like, hey, we have this like best coffee shop thing that we're gonna do, and
but you have to pay for the spot.
And they're like, we're getting a ton of our readers are submitting your coffee shop as their favorite. And for $200, like we'll leave you in there. And it's like, is it, are they voting on it, or do I have to buy my way into it? And then I'm like, oh, these people that actually get published, that it's because they paid for it. And now that I know that it's not actually legit, I'll never participate.
I had a similar experience, which is a complete different topic, but I saw a photographer that I know that was published in Vogue. I think that, I'm not going to say every photographer, but I would say probably the majority that at least I know, like that is a dream to be published in Vogue, especially from, I don't know, for me
weddings,
personally.
For sure.
So I was like, how in the hell did they get in Vogue? And then I started like doing some research, and I'm like, they paid for that.
They paid
for that.
They have like a network.
I don't want to pay for it. I want it to happen.
They're going to pay for it and then be like, we are published in Vogue.
Yeah. I'm like, damn, that's some sketchy shit.
I know.
I mean,
it's so wrong.
I'd be lying if I didn't say we talked about, would
doing
that benefit us? Because,
yeah.
I mean, like it's like the knot.
I don't know. I'm a principal. You guys, as you get to know me, I'm like the most, I can't bend on principle.
And we ultimately decided on that. Yeah. I was like, that is something that I want so bad. I want it to happen because I earned it. Not because I paid for it.
Well, you know what I thought to myself was very similar. I was like, I have to just get so good that it's undeniable. Like you can't, that you can't talk about the best coffee shop in St. Louis without bringing me up.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to force your hand, and then I'm going to look at you and just know, that I know that everybody else paid for it, and you have to talk about me.
You have to, because everybody's gonna raise a fuss if you don't.
If you don't bring me up, everybody's gonna know this is fake.
I mean, there are publications I think that do it right.
Sincerely, I know.
STL Magazine, for example. We've won 4.
Which one?
STL Magazine.
STL Magazine.
We won Best Videographer.
STL Today?
No, just St. Louis Magazine.
St. Louis,
yeah.
A-list?
A-list, yeah.
Oh, got it.
So we've won video three times, and we just won photo and video this year.
That's sick.
But at first we were like, I wonder if there's like ad things part of it, because they do sell, like they tell you you're a finalist, and then they sell spots. And then I'm like, okay, is that going to affect us if we don't? Because we never paid for spots, but we keep getting up there. So it tells me that
People
is truly
are actually voting.
votes.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So that is a good one.
Okay, well then cool. I'll trust them.
Which A-list does everything. Like I wouldn't be surprised if like the next
coffee.
round coming up, you guys will be on there.
They do coffee. I think Aldi's won last time.
They do every category like in everything.
In small businesses, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not just weddings. They'll do restaurants and food, and I think they even have like automobile,
auto dealerships,
like,
and mechanic shops,
all kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff. So pet, veterinarian.
Oh yeah,
because our vet was on there.
Everything.
Yeah, literally everything.
But like they'll do a nomination phase, and then if you get enough nominations, you get.
Yeah, that's another reason why I knew the STL bucket list. The one that we were involved in was kind of like fake, because the votes were all done online, and all you had to do is submit like an email address,
and that's how A-list is too.
Vote. But like we kind of leveraged some social horsepower to like get votes.
Yeah.
And
naturally,
Grace has like 100,000 followers, or more than that, I guess, across different platforms. You know, and I have like 50 across different platforms. My brother has like 60. Kylie has, I don't even know, like 500,000. And then Jeff has like, 200,000. And we leveraged all of that. And I'm like, there's no other coffee shop that has a cumulative million followers that they're leveraging to give votes.
And that's your Starbucks, and they're never going to win something like that.
You're saying that like Blueprint like got more votes? Like it's just not.
Like,
that's just not true.
Not. Right.
You're lying.
Yeah.
100%.
Like,
oh my gosh.
I'm playing by the rules. You
set the rules.
Yeah, exactly.
You set the rules.
Yeah. So are you originally from St. Louis?
No, I'm originally from upstate New York. I was born, they call it the capital region, but around Albany. Albany's the capital of New York.
And you're a twin, right?
Yeah, I'm an identical twin.
Fun fact, I'm a triplet, actually.
Alex is a triplet.
Really?
Not identical, but
no way.
There are 3 of me.
Wow.
Oh, gosh.
Do triplets work the same way, identical and fraternal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
I think it's more...
They're not identical, though.
We're not identical, but I think it's more rare, obviously more in multiples.
It has to be.
Well, especially not to throw you under the bus here, babe, but especially at your age. Like, there aren't a lot of triplets at your age. Because
I'm an old man.
What do you mean, really?
Well, when like Alex's mom was pregnant, the medicine like wasn't as advanced,
and the survival rate.
The survival rate was low.
Like triplets, quadruplets, and going up is
Alex
lower.
was born in the 80s.
I was born in the 80s.
Wow, you're old as fuck.
I know. Don't remind me. Don't remind me.
Wow.
I don't look it.
No, you don't. Not at all. Actually.
Mark's like, yeah, you do.
You're an old man. You kids can get out.
Oh my God.
That's interesting, man. I really hope that I have twins or triplets or something, because I really like I like being a twin.
I mean, it was great growing up, because I mean, I always had a built-in best friend.
Built-in best friend, same age, same everything.
We did everything together.
Yeah. It's really cool.
Do you and your brother like think really similarly, or are your minds pretty different?
In some ways, but in some ways we're like we have really different personalities.
Yeah.
And did that come in more like when you became adults and got older? Or?
No, it's always been that way.
Yeah.
It's always been that way. We have distinctly different things. A lot of it has to do with like the way that we socialize. Like my brother's like really social.
Sounds like Brad.
He's just like the kind of guy that can like walk in a room and you just know.
Are you not that way?
And then he dominates it. No, I actually prefer to be left alone. Like
I would not have thought that.
Like in high school, we were both really good at sports, and so, we were popular, and we were, not for nothing, we were the only we were 2 of the only 4 black kids in our whole school district.
Wow.
You knew who we were.
Yeah. And that was in New York?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Upstate New York.
Yeah, in upstate. And so everybody knew who we were, but we were also really good at sports, and so we were popular. And he just leaned right into the jock, football star. Yeah. And I would skip class and hang out in the art room, or in my counselor's office. I just don't you know, I could just be in the background and be okay with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do have the the ability to walk into a room and own it, you know, and I put that hat on sometimes. But yeah.
I feel that
we are the same. We are the same. Like because of our jobs, we're a forced extrovert. Like we have to be talking to a lot of people for hours on end on a Saturday. Having to be very personal, and it drains my cup, and it takes me all week to fill it up.
Fill it back up. I totally get that with your brother thing though, because my brother we were the exact same way. We were in all the sports. We were good at all the sports. We were relatively popular. People knew who we were, but like he was always like just a little better than me. And I'm always just kind of behind him, letting him just walk in the room and just be the personality that gets everybody talking. So then I don't have to do it as much.
So with him and with my brother and I, we were good at different things. Like he played football, I played basketball. Like, so we never really had the like comparison game. Not so much anyway. And then as we became adults, like him and I both ended up in prison. So like, you know, after prison, adulthood, I really leaned into that and just found success immediately. Like I came home and built a business, and then, you know, started a career, and then did really good in the career, and then built another business, and everybody's looking at me as like this leader and this, you know, and I sort of had been telling my story on podcasts and online, and, you know, I've got all these people that look up to me now, and I've done some like mentorship work and stuff. And my brother was still kind of like doing nothing, you know? And so at that point in adulthood, we started to get that comparison game, and yeah, that was rough. But going back to the, you know, that quality of being able to walk into a room and like dominate it if you need to. Everybody like says, like when I say I would prefer to be left alone, nobody really believes me. And I think that's not talked about enough in like entrepreneurship, is like, you have to be like, people will say, oh, it just comes naturally to you. Like, no. Like you have always. Yeah, exactly. You have to look and see where are the holes in your bucket. And like, that's a sink or swim quality. Like if you have a people facing business or a service based business, like you need to be able to make people feel good. Like what we were talking about in the beginning. And that's 100% something that I identified and just said, well, screw it. I guess like I need this.
I got to do this.
I need this. Yeah.
So I definitely think that it's it's not one of my strong suits. And I really have to push myself on that. Like next year we're going to Engage, which is like a huge,
it's like the workshop for our industry.
And the whole point of going is to network. And that just makes me want to vomit.
That's like, funny.
But I know that like I have to go in it, and growth comes from being uncomfortable.
100%.
And so we're going, and I know that I'm going to be the most uncomfortable I've ever been in my life.
The whole time.
But I really truly think that it will help me like not be this way anymore. Hopefully. Maybe. Or I'll just get more used to being that way. Because I really have to push myself.
Well, the challenge, I don't know why. I'm just very logical in like my thought process sometimes. And so I go in and I think like, how do I get these people to remember me? Like after the weekend, I want them to look back and be like, oh yeah, dude, that dude Mark is, you know, whatever, insert here, whatever I'm trying to accomplish. I went on a trip recently. A brand flew me out to Colorado, and I was there with like some people that I had known about for years and that are just killing it. Like they're way out of my league at this point, but like,
can you name drop?
So there's one girl, it's a couple actually, a husband and wife, but the woman is who I had known about for years because of my previous career. What I used to do is I used to go out and find these like mega influencers and sort of like initiate a relationship, build a relationship, earn their trust, and then get them to work for the company that I worked for.
Oh, okay.
You know, it was like, they used to call me Mr. Steal Your Girl at that company. Because that's what it was. These people always are working for another company. And I just, you know, they'd send me all over the country.
Just to get people on board.
Yeah, if they knew, it was an awesome job. If they knew, like, let's say that you were going to be at this event in Miami, you know, they'd send me to the event and just hope that some way I could find my way next to you, you know?
It's like a headhunter.
It was awesome.
Literally a headhunter.
You're literally a headhunter.
And so this girl, her name is Sam Sweeney. She's got like several million followers across, you know, multiple platforms. Her husband's a U.S., I believe he was in the Air Force, but he's a veteran for sure. And I met them, and I'm like, man, I can't believe I'm, you know, sitting here with Sam and Noel. Like, this is pretty cool. But I heard Noel say like multiple times throughout the weekend, like, he had like written stuff that I said down. You know,
that's impressive.
And I'm like, man, that's pretty cool.
You're like,
you
damn,
know?
I did that.
A literal mark.
I left a mark. Yeah, like
that's
I'm like,
awesome.
So I know for sure that he's gonna remember me. You know, and since him and I and Sam, we've become friends. We've done some business. So like the same thing I used to do. You know, I guess I haven't grown out of it, but yeah. So when I go into events like the one that you're talking about, it's always like that. It's like I don't know. It's like how can I leave my mark, you know, so to speak, and. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I've gotten pretty good at it.
Yeah.
I really have.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that.
But yeah, so originally you asked me if, you know, about where I'm from, you know, sort of my story. I'm originally from upstate New York, and I actually love it in St. Louis. Are you guys both from here?
Yeah, I'm born and raised.
Man. So mine's complicated.
St. Louis.
Yeah, so I was born...
The greater St. Louis area.
Greater St. Louis area, technically.
Yeah, I'll keep it short. I was born in East St. Louis.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Everybody says
that. Hood.
Yeah. Everybody says that.
Everybody says that.
Yeah.
I am legitimately actually from the hood.
From the hood?
Yeah.
Probably like one of the most dangerous hoods in America.
Probably, yeah. Like
basically.
Pretty deep. Yeah. Pretty deep, yeah. And then I moved to Albers, Illinois.
Which is
like
middle of nowhere town.
Mm-hmm. Like a hodonk. Is that, what's that? Is that the right word?
That's the right word.
Okay.
You know, whatever.
Like a country
We know what
town.
you're talking about.
We get what you're saying, yeah.
And I lived there until 6th grade, and then I moved to St. Louis. So I've been here most of my life.
The area, yeah. And then I grew up in the same house all through high school, moved out.
That's awesome.
It's pretty consistent, and I probably took it for granted when I was growing up, as probably most people in my position probably did.
Everybody takes everything for granted until like they wake up, you know?
Yeah, and it's just like, you know, and like more and more the older I get, I'm like, man, I literally have the best family. And
it's so cool.
It's the coolest thing.
I think it's cool to even observe. Like I truly do. I think it's so cool to like see, like now, especially that I'm an adult, and because I didn't have necessarily that, I look at families like, I'll name drop now, but like, and some people are gonna think I'm crazy, but the Sansones, you guys know them? It's a St. Louis based family.
I've heard of them.
So the Sansones, they're in real estate. That's what they're most well known for. I think they have like a $2.2 billion, I just read this, real estate portfolio. But in addition to that, it was so the kids now are like our age, and their grandfather.
Or your age, because remember, I'm an old man.
Well, I mean, I ain't far off. I was 92.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the kids now are about our age. I'm 30. And their grandfather started the portfolio, and he had a bunch of kids. And then one of his sons kind of became the next patriarch of the family, and he had 10 kids. So the kids that are our age, there's 10 of them.
Jeez.
Oh, wow.
And all of them are killing it. Like one of the daughters is Luke Combs' personal manager.
Dope.
Please connect me with them.
Three of the sons started a clothing company called the Normal Brand,
nice.
which is like it's a big company. Like it's luxury men's casual wear. Like it's really nice. I wear it a lot. Yeah. And then a couple of the other sons took over the real estate game or whatever. But what I heard is, and this is what impressed me so much, is one, all the kids are doing well. There's not one that's like, oh, he got strung out on drugs, or you know, it just happens. It's a reality of the world we live in. But there's not one. They're all doing well. The guys, all of them, when they're out in public, they're wearing like button up with like slacks and like always dressed to the nines, right?
They make a statement.
Every Christmas, all 10 kids still go home to their parents' house and sleep in the bedroom that they grew up in.
Shut up.
That's what they do every year. They're like 30.
Oh my God, you know they're wearing matching pajamas.
That whole family's got matching PJs for Christmas.
Matching PJs, family photo.
Oh, I love
I'm like,
that.
that is so cool. Like I want whatever their parents did, that's what I need to figure out. Because I would love to have a family like
that. I love
that.
That's how I felt coming into Alex's family, because my family is very broken.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, until I started dating Alex, I didn't know what family was. I was
or what it was supposed to be.
I was 18, and I was like, I don't know what a family dynamic is supposed to look like other than what I know, and what I know is pretty shitty.
Yeah.
So going into Alex's family, I'm like, is this actually how it is? And
it's really cool. When
it's really cool. Well. And I'm very lucky to have married into such a sweet family. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome. I feel the same. Like Grace. Yeah. Grace is a Frisella. That's another name that people know around St. Louis.
And that family's pretty
pretty tight. Pretty tight.
I mean, you know, they're a stereotypical Italian Catholic family, mm-hmm. so big families and, you know, strong values and strong opinions and all these things. But it's cool because like they have like that familial loyalty that like I never experienced that.
Yeah, me either.
I don't know what it's like to be like, well, you're my nephew, so I got your back no matter what.
Yeah, same.
I never had that.
Yeah,
never
me
had
either.
that.
Me
and
either.
like they're like, if you're a Frisella, you're with us. And, and like even if I don't like you,
it's like what's happening? Do we need to make a drive?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how Alex's family is too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like you can piss me off.
Do we need to assemble the forces and take a drive?
Yeah. No, for real, man. So I was born to like drug addicted parents, and I never knew my dad, my real dad. My real mom, she was addicted to cocaine and alcohol like my whole life. And so like for the first, I don't know, 10 years of my life, I was like, I would just rotate between like foster homes, the foster system. I was in and out of foster system a lot. And then I would be with my mom. We would live in like women's and children's shelters, or like occasionally she would be able to get an apartment.
Yeah.
And then really I spent a lot of time just like abandoning crack houses, like, which is just crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. And my mom was like super abusive, and you know, I hate talking about it, but like I got molested when I was a kid. Not like raped, but just mistreated.
Yeah.
And that was like on one of the stints when my mom just like left me in a crack house, you know. It's just crazy.
Mark.
So,
wow.
So that was like the first 10 years of my life. And despite, despite the circumstances, I was like fiercely loyal to my mom. Like I was like, I don't care what's going on. Right. I don't care what she could do no wrong.
Well, you were a kid, and like all that you knew was your mom.
Is it because you think? Would you say it was because she's probably the one the constant you always had?
Maybe not really. My twin brother was the constant, but they say that this is like a condition of children of addicts. Is like they almost mature too quickly because they have to be like I had to be the adult because my mom was like always the child.
I relate to that.
So like that was me. It was like more so less than being like attached in like a I want my mommy kind of way.
You feel like a responsibility.
It was like, where's my mom?
You're taking
I need to make sure she's okay.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's a responsibility. Yeah.
So that's kind of the first like 10 years of my life, and then when we were 10, so we were really lucky to my brother and I. We had a constant foster family that like whenever we need to go to the foster system, they would send us to the same family.
Oh,
so
that's
back
good.
and forth, the same family. And those people to this day, if I say like my parents or if I say mom or dad, I'm talking about my foster parents, those same people. And so at one point, like my twin brother was like, hey mom, I want to go live with Laura and Dennis. And my mom was just like, all right, you know, and shipped them off. We were living in Florida at the time. They were living in New York. So she sent him up to New York, and he was gone. And so this was the first time in my life that my brother and I were separated, and probably the most traumatic thing that I went through was my mom basically, probably like 6 months later, was like, hey, you know, we're going to go on vacation. We're going to go on a trip. We're going to go visit your brother. And I'm like, all right, cool. You know, I was super excited. I'd never been on a vacation before. So we pack our bags and stuff. We get on the plane. We fly from Florida to New York, and we get to New York, and my mom, we like took a taxi because I'm old, you know, there wasn't Uber back then.
Yep.
In fact, funny story, when I came to St. Louis, it was not long. It was a year and a half, maybe, after I'd gotten out of prison. And so Uber became a thing when I was in prison. So I came to St. Louis, and when I landed, somebody was like, "Hey, catch an Uber." And I asked him,
"What the heck is an Uber?"
Well, I asked him, "What's the phone number?" I was like, "What's the phone number?" They're like, "It's an app. It's an app."
And you're like,
okay, yeah.
I was in San Francisco when Uber was getting started in San Francisco.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And they were telling us, download this app and don't use a taxi. And I was touring with a drum group.
Yeah.
And we had to park the truck near Giant Stadium.
Yeah.
Giant Stadium.
San Francisco. Yeah.
So it's like industrial park. There's nothing really there. So we called an Uber. Uber never showed up.
Wow.
We had to walk like 2 miles to find a taxi.
Oh no.
Oh my God.
Wow.
And so
that
was my first impression of Uber.
You're like,
so
damn,
I'm like,
screw them.
I don't know about Uber.
Truthfully, I use Lyft.
We do too.
I use Lyft.
Lyft sponsor us.
Yeah. But
anyway.
yeah, we flew up to New York and we got a taxi and we went to this building, and my mom, we kind of went in and we came to this bench, and my mom was like, "Hey, wait here, I'll be right back." And she just left me sitting there. She left me that day. She never came back. And
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
Yeah, it was so rough.
So can we dive into that just a little bit if you're comfortable with that?
Yeah.
So you're sitting there, how long?
Only about 45 minutes probably, but I mean, for a kid still, that's a long time.
That's a long time.
And
when did you realize that she's not coming back?
Well, so I don't remember much of my childhood at all. I have
I don't either.
I have maybe like 5 clear memories before I'm like 16.
Mark, I feel like I'm looking into a mirror. Truly. I'm the same. I don't remember.
Kids that have been...
Alex tells me about his second grade teacher. I'm like, I don't even know what I don't even know where I went to school.
Yeah.
I don't even know where I was in second grade.
Well, they say that kids that have gone through a lot of trauma just suppress it all. So
block it out.
But it's cool because you can access, by doing some work, you can access some of those things.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm ready for that.
Exactly. But I have like for example, the being molested, that's something that came to me later. I always had this vision of.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, so what had happened, or this is one of my only distinct memories, is Laura and Dennis came out with the what do they call those guys? Like the police officers that work in courts. The plaintiff
DFS?
or I don't know, but the guy that was there.
Okay.
They came out with him and a social worker, and they were just basically, "Hey, you're gonna go home with."
So I guess you don't even know how they knew where you were.
Huh?
Do you know how they knew where you were at?
So what that day was we were actually sitting in a family court building, and I didn't know that.
Okay.
I know it now as an adult, but we were sitting in a family court building, and what had actually happened was the family court in New York wanted to decide once and for all who was going to raise Matt and I, but the only thing that they knew for sure, and the reason for the court date, was that they didn't want us separated. That was the only time, that was the first time in our life that we had been separated. Yeah. And so they stepped in and said, no.
Yeah.
These
need
kids,
to go together.
The only thing that they've had this whole time is each other, and they're going to stay together.
Yeah.
And so my mom didn't want to give up custody, and Matt wanted to stay with Laura and Dennis. So they brought us there that day, and that's what it was. And my mom just basically tricked me.
Okay.
We're going on vacation, but
we're going up there. And so, I was not having it. No, I'm not going. Where's my mom? And they had to carry me, kicking and one had one leg, one had another leg, and then one had my armpits, and they carried me to their car and put me in the back, and that was it. And so, as you might imagine, I did not take very well to my them being my new parents. I knew them my whole life.
Yeah.
The first time we went to their house.
But now it's a mindset shift.
Yeah, we were my mom will get mad if I misquote it, but we were a year and a half old, maybe less than a year old when they first got us. So we literally knew them our whole life.
Your entire life.
So and so it wasn't I had to go with strangers, but I just did not want to accept that they were mom. Yeah. They weren't mom. So I became I was 11 at this time, and I became a really angry and violent kid. Not violent in the sense of using weapons, but I fought so much. I would pick fist fights every chance I could. I would fight. I would try to fight my parents. I would try to fight my teachers. I'd try to fight other kids. And so, it was really rough. And it's sad because Matt and I are both really, we have an aptitude for learning. So I don't want to say we're really intelligent. I think that we're just average intelligence, but like we can apply ourselves. And so we would have done I did do really well in school. I always had straight A's. I never failed a test in my life. We were also really good athletes, but like I couldn't really like just lean into the potential that I had because I was just so...
You didn't have the sports structure?
Well, I was just so angry. I just didn't care. I didn't want to. I didn't want to. I just, and so... So I was doing well in school, doing well in sports. Things kind of started to normalize for a little while. And when I went to that family, the only person that was there that I actually did sort of embrace was my older brother. So my parents, they fostered 2 other kids besides Matt and I. So I had 2 other foster brothers, and then they had 1 biological son, like their actual son. Mm-hmm. He was the oldest. That was Travis. And so Travis was the one that I took to. He was just like a man's man, like the coolest dude ever. I mean, seriously, the coolest fucking dude ever. He played all the sports. He listened to Bob Marley. He was like kind of like a deadhead, and he was in I went to prison for possession of psychedelic drugs. Like, it's kind of like, it's controversial, but I'm still a proponent of psychedelics to this day. I believe that there's a place for them. They've been net positive in my life besides going to prison for them. But anyway, so my brother was like into that, Jerry Garcia, Bob Marley, the whole 9, but he was also like this super fit, like athlete that went to the gym every day and like worked out. It was cool. He rode motorcycles and dirt bikes and went hunting. So he did it all.
Yeah.
And he was like my idol, honestly. And I followed him around like a puppy. Like I would just get out of school. He'd pick me up from school, and he had a Toyota, which is like, I got a Toyota now. It's crazy. And so I took to him. I wouldn't take to anybody else. I was still really angry, still got in a lot of trouble. And then things started to normalize. I was doing really well in school. I was doing really well in sports. And then my brother just died out of nowhere, like Travis. Yeah. He died when I was 16, which is crazy.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. And so when he died, Matt and I just kind of like, I don't know, that was rough. We pretty much dove back down to like, there's a couple bottoms in my life, and like that was definitely one of them.
Now, was Matt as close to him as you were?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Travis was like our guy. Yeah. Yeah. And so after that, Matt got like, well, it was very shortly after that we left our foster parents' house, like, because I was smoking weed. Like after my brother died, I started smoking weed. And he kind of got me into it. I'm not going to lie. So he did. I was 16, and he used to grow weed like on the back porch of his apartment, and it was just like, I don't know. And so he kind of got me into it. I started smoking weed, and my mom would just lose her shit on me all the time. And she's like, your brother just died, from using drugs. He died of a opiate overdose, which is so tragic because like I said, he was like an athlete, and he was one time, this is the kind of dude he was. One time he literally signed up for a rodeo and rode a bull just because he wanted to.
Jeez.
He was like, yeah, I think I want to try that.
I want to try this.
I want to try that. And signed up and rode a bull, like a real bull.
Oh my gosh.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Kind of like you only live once, so like you might as well just do it.
Yes.
You might only live once.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so he got hurt in the gym. He tore his shoulder, and he didn't have insurance. And so he went to the
orthopedic.
No, he went to the on-call,
urgent care.
Try to get some stuff, the urgent care. Yeah. And long story short, it was really difficult for him to get either the help for his shoulder or like pain medication or something. And so he ended up using opiates off the street and overdosed.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
And it was so sad. I mean, it was brutal watching him go through that because we knew that he had gotten addicted, and it all happened so fast. Like he got addicted, and it was like maybe a 8-month period. And then he was dead, and at one point my parents were like, hey, we know you have this problem. Let's help you get, some help. And he didn't want to do the inpatient rehab thing. So what we did it sounds kind of crazy, but we just locked him in my parents' room for like a week. No, for real.
You're like, we'll clean up later.
For 7 whole days. He wasn't allowed to go anywhere but the bathroom. Yeah. And he would stay in he was bedridden. Like he was like going through withdrawal. It was like really bad. And it's kind of fucked up, but like he came out on the 7th day, and I remember it so clearly, but he came out and he was like, man, I just want to get some fresh air. Like, so we're like, okay, because the bedroom stinks, you know, he's been laying in there, not showering or nothing. So we're like, okay. And he like went for a walk and he came back high after getting through the worst of the withdrawal. And he was like, finally, like the fever was gone, all this stuff. And he came back high. My mom like lost it, flipped. She lost her shit. And she said, you know, hey, like you just go, like, just go. Don't come back until you're sober. And like literally like a couple days later, like that's when he died. I know. It was,
that is so tough.
Opiate addiction is bad.
It's bad. It's really bad.
Yeah.
So I'm 16 and even dude, that night is just a crazy night too. Like the phone rang. My dad's like, wait, what did you just say? And all of a sudden my mom just started screaming. And I didn't even cry. I was so cold as a kid, and I had been through so much that I didn't even want to like let myself feel it. So I just like sat down. I had my friends come over that night, and you know, we kind of like pretended like everything was fine. And then like I woke up in the morning and went to school. I swear, I went to school. And the first time I cried was like my teacher. I was, like I said, I was a good student. And so I was in biology or something like that. And I kept putting my head down, and my teacher kept coming over, Miss Soriento. She kept coming over and be like, Mark, pick your head up. Mark, pick your head up. And then at one point she was like, Mark, I've already asked you to pick your head up a couple times. Like, what's going on? Like, it's not like you. And I just looked up at her and I was like, my big brother died last night. And I started bawling. I started bawling. I couldn't. And so I'm smoking weed. And my mom is like, your brother died from drugs and now you're doing drugs. And I'm like, Mom, weed is not a drug. Weed is not. We had that argument so many times. And it's a stupid argument.
I mean, I can imagine.
For the record, weed is a drug. But one day she exploded and she was like, if you're going to live under my house, you're going to follow my rules, or you can go live somewhere else. And when she said that, I like went upstairs, packed a bag, and I left, and I didn't speak to her again for like 2 years.
Oh, wow.
I know. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know that was an option. And I just being a smart ass, you know, rotten kid. And so, yeah, we ended up out. My brother followed me out, and we were like homeless. Like he was sleeping like, you know, on friends' couches. And I actually got an apartment, which is crazy to looking back. And so he went really deep into like hard drugs. Like he like got addicted to cocaine and alcohol, and ended up getting involved in like some serious crimes. And so my brother gets arrested, sentenced to 10 years in prison. When you're like 18 years old, 10 years sounds like a life sentence.
Oh yeah.
You know?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So here I am, and I'm like, okay, I just lost my big brother. Now I lost my twin brother. And I just like was like, fuck it. You know, I think I'm just going to like check out, you know? And that's what I did. And that's what I did. I started like, I was selling weed to my friends. And when I say selling weed to my friends quickly progressed to like selling a lot of weed, you know? And back then weed was like still illegal. Like you would go to jail.
It's come a long way in a very short period of time.
Well, it's kind of silly because like I went to prison, and like now, I don't know if I had if I got arrested today with what I got arrested with then. Because I went to prison for a drug possession, like not sales, not trafficking, not distribution, for a possession of drugs.
Wasn't oh God, please forgive me because I don't really pay attention to politics, but when it became legal, wasn't there some sort of like grant or petition for like certain drug charges to be dropped?
It depends on the state, but some like possession
so people could be free if that's what they went to jail for.
Most of the time, I think it was non-violent drug
100% non-violent drug charges, and they could be washed from your record, or the marijuana stuff. Like I know that some states reserve some licenses because they're hard to get, like a dispensary license. Like if you want to open a dispensary, it's hard to get and it's expensive. So some states will reserve a certain number of them for people that had been convicted of cannabis crimes, you know,
to try to give them a start.
And say, hey, sorry about
my
that.
bad.
Yeah, you bad. Go back to doing what you were doing before.
Right.
You know?
Oh God, that's so funny.
So yeah. Anyway, I ended up in prison. I got sentenced to 4 years in prison for drug possession, and some people, like a lot of people that know me now, when they hear about prison, they're like, oh, you know, I think they assume that like I just went to prison and like, you know, prison changed me for the better, but I actually went to prison and initially got way worse. Like I went to prison.
I was going to ask you that actually.
Yeah, I went to prison and I got sentenced to 4 years in prison and I ended up doing 5.5. So I went to prison and got rearrested in prison for the same thing.
I didn't even know that could happen.
That I went to prison for. Yeah, it's really hard.
Wow.
It's really hard, but winners win,
Jeez.
you know?
You want what you want.
Yeah. So I went and I ended up getting rearrested in prison because I was like controlling the drugs, controlling the gambling. I was just a nuisance.
Wow.
Nuisance. Because I'm smart, you know, and I can like look.
You're
like,
an entrepreneur from the get.
Yeah. I just look.
You're the store in the prison.
Like, it's supply, demand. Okay, yeah, okay, I got it, you know? And so, that was rough. And truly, you know, I'll kind of like speed up through the prison part because the prison is a whole thing. We could talk about prison forever. It's mind-boggling. Like if you just.
So what? How far into your brother's sentence? Like what was the time difference there?
He had been in prison. I think he had been arrested for around 2 years when I got arrested.
So he still got out after you.
Mm-hmm, and still got out after me. Yeah. But like. Man, prison's so crazy, and I'm so grateful for the experience that I had there because it's just given me a perspective that, like, I don't know, man.
Like you're just more grateful, probably.
I'm just, not only that, but like you just, like one of the most startling realizations that I had when I was in prison was like, every day I would wake up and I would like, you know, they call it chow, but you get breakfast, you eat breakfast, and then you come back, you get ready for work, and you either have a job or you have a program that you have to go to. So you go, and then you take a lunch break, and then you know, do your job or your program in the afternoon. Then you come back, and maybe you go to the gym, or you just sit around and you watch Netflix, or you play poker or whatever, and then you go to sleep and you wake up and you do it all over again. And it's just like this routine. And one day, like every day I would like, especially in the back end, like after I started to change my life, you know, I would just sit around like just fantasizing about like what I would do with my day if I had a choice. Like if I wasn't stuck in this like fucking
repetitive
cycle. Yeah. If I wasn't stuck in this
cycle,
in this routine, I would be like, man, what could I do? I could do this. I could start this business, or I could, you know, and then I call my mom and I realized that like my mom was living in the exact same routine that I was. She'd just wake up and eat her breakfast and, you know, go to work and then take her lunch break and then work the afternoon, then come home and sit on Facebook or watch her show and then go to sleep and come. I had Netflix. I had HBO. I could watch the same show she was watching, you know, and it, I don't know. I kind of vowed, like I've wasted so many days, and I said, man, I'm never going to waste any more days again. Like I just, and what I see is like most people in society, they like voluntarily imprison themselves in these routines because like the guys in prison are living in the exact same routine that you are, like, and it's interesting. And even the psychology behind prison, because like, you're allowed to have like your own personal property, but you're only allowed to have as much property as they say you can have. You have your own space. Like people can send property from the street, like books and, you know, clothes. And like I could send this sweater in right now and, you know, and wear it. And I just bought this sweater. So like you can have a certain amount of personal property, but you can only have as much as they say you can have. You can have your own food. Like I would have food sent from the street, but you can only have as much as they say you can have. You have your own space. Like you have a cell or a cube or something, but you only have as much property or land as they say you can have, and you have a job, but these jobs are just, you have a selection. You can choose from the jobs that they give you an opportunity to choose. And so it almost like creates an illusion that you're free because you have your own property, you have your own food. You can,
but it's limited.
You can decide how you use your time. You can go to the gym. You can have a job and an opportunity to contribute. You literally, at some point, when you're in there long enough, if you ever meet somebody that spends more than 3 years in prison, you can ask them, like, you forget that you're in prison. Like there comes a time where you just forget, and it's like
part of the routine.
This is just what I do.
And it's like, this is just the world. It's the whole world. And if like a baby was born in prison and they're raised in prison, they wouldn't know anything other than prison, right? It's their whole world. That's how it becomes. And that's another piece of the perspective that I've taken with me, because like there's, especially with the social and political turmoil of the last like 4 years out here, it's like, no, I see like in some instances our government or, you know, whatever, like even corporations creating an illusion of freedom rather than actual freedom. Like there's such a thing in business called the illusion of choice. Like you walk into the grocery store, this is actual. In most grocery stores, every single product in the store is provided by one of 10 companies. You know what I mean? So you have thousands of products and you think that you have
a choice,
real freedom to choose what you buy, but you only have the options that have been made available to you by one of these 10 companies, right? So,
and if you think you're saving money on the no-name brand, it's probably the same.
It's the same company.
It's the same company, but it's cheaper.
It's the same company, right? And so that perspective I've taken from prison too. And now I really like Andy Frisella, who we mentioned earlier. I don't know if we were on the show or not before, but he has this thing where he says freedom only exists when you exercise it.
Yeah, I've heard him say that.
You know what I mean?
It
only exists if you exercise it. And I know that to be 100% true. Like so man, so prison's just, it's given me so much perspective, but and that one takeaway of like most people in society right now are voluntarily imprisoning themselves. You know, that's been it drives me between that and my big brother dying. It drives me to live the way that I lived today. Like if you know me and we're close and you watch me, like I live I'm happy. I don't do anything that I don't want to do. I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
It's not to say that it's fun the whole time.
Oh, absolutely.
But that day when I said I'm not wasting any days when I get out of here, I'm going to live every day just like I'm daydreaming about right now.
Yeah.
I literally do that. And if I don't want to do something, I just won't do it.
Yeah.
And you know, and I'm so passionate about like pushing people to like chase their dreams and to, you know, do things that they're passionate about and to like take the trip and all these things. Like life is going to be hard either way.
Yep.
It's going to be hard either way. So you may as well be chipping away at the life that you really want to live rather than, you know, settling for the one that society just gave you.
Bro.
Yeah.
Dude, that's fire.
Oh,
that's
thank you.
fire.
I've literally never thought about the prison analogy the way you just, I mean, obviously I've never been to prison, so having somebody that has like, it's 100% real.
That's such an interesting
perspective. You worked it, I worked it, like corporate America, just you wake up, you go to work, you do the same thing for 8, 9, 10 hours sometimes, you come home, you eat dinner, you go to bed, and then you wash and repeat.
Yeah.
And that, as an entrepreneur especially, that is literally close to prison as
well. Some people, especially because I have such a big circle of entrepreneur friends, sometimes I catch them like bad mouthing like the 9-to-5 life, which I try to be very intentional about not doing that because my job at First Form, for example, was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Like it was amazing. I worked my butt off. I was probably putting in 80 hours a week. But it was amazing. It was so fun.
Well, and so everybody has their thing, and there's nothing wrong with being comfortable.
I mean, realistically,
like if you are not, listen, an entrepreneur, it's a special mindset. It's not for the faint of heart. There's something different about us that some people just don't understand.
We're a little bit crazy.
And not everyone is like that, and I know that.
Well, I think what matters most is that you wake up and you're excited about what you get to do today.
100%.
I think that's what matters most because there's people who, I hope that there's hundreds of people that work for my company someday that wake up and are like, man, I fucking love my job.
Yeah.
You know, so
I mean, this country's built on people that work 9 to 5.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with that life. It's just that when people think like they have a duty to like go and get the safest, most secure, you know, the best package. And probably and that's the worst. I watched my foster dad, dude, this poor guy, but I admire him so much. Now looking back, I know now as an adult that my dad never ever in his life has made more than $80,000 a year. Now I know that sounds like a decent living for most people living maybe, but he was supporting 7 kids in one house.
Yeah.
My mom didn't work. I made like $200K plus at First Form and I still felt broke. Like I'm like, you know, so how are you doing that?
Yeah.
But one of the best things that happened to me, so that was like one of the most startling realizations that I had. But one of the best things that I have had to take away from the prison experience is that my whole life I was angry, upset. I was really, just broken and unhappy. And I mean, I had diagnosed depression and all these things when I was a kid. And I think that most people, they spend their whole life trying to like accumulate a variety of a few different things. One is like obviously, wealth, financial security, property, relationships, so friendships, the approval of their friends, or their approval of their family. And then the other one is like opportunity for growth and advancement. Like these are like, I've thought about this a lot, and most people are motivated by one or multiple of these 5 things. And when I went to prison, I lost all of that. Like I lost all my money. I lost all my property. I lost all the people I thought were my friends, like all of them, I have like 2 friends left that were friends before prison, and they're still my friends now. But I lost that. I lost the approval of my family. At the time, I wasn't even talking to my parents. It took them a year to even get a phone call from me. I was in prison a year before I talked to my parents. So, and I lost all the scholarship opportunities. Like I would have definitely gotten college scholarships and been able to play basketball in college or something. And so I lost it all, but I found peace and happiness for the first time in my life. So it's like, now I know for sure that peace and happiness are actually not tied to those things. They're not tied. So I became the verbiage that I use to describe it is like a passion driven person. Like that's when I say I only do things that I want to do, is because I only do things that resonate with me on like a deeper level. If I feel like, if I feel called to do it, then I will do it. And I don't do anything for money anymore. I don't do anything for the approval of you guys or anybody else. I don't do anything for my parents to say I'm proud. There's not one of those 5 things is driving my decision-making process. And it's only because I had it all taken away and I found peace anyway. Right. And so now I think the reason why people settle for the 9 to 5 and the prison, they settle for the prison. They put their wrists on the table and say, go ahead and cuff me, is because their decision-making process is driven by one or more of those 5 things, right? That's the only thing. And if they knew that rock bottom wasn't actually that bad, like it wasn't that bad. When I came home from prison, I was 25, had to start my life over from scratch. I had nothing. Like I had no clothes. I had to have like clothes and shoes donated to me. So I had nothing, like socks and underwear, everything. And I built a 6-figure business in my first year. You know, like I got a job only long enough. I think I accumulated $2,500. That's how long I worked at a job. And then I spent some of it to sit for a personal trainer exam so I could become a certified personal trainer. And I spent the rest on a set of used dumbbells, kettlebells, and a rower off of Facebook Marketplace. And I built a 6-figure business from there. So like, you can literally make money doing anything. And you spend more time working in your life than you will anything else. You'll spend more time working than you do sleeping. You'll spend more time working than you do with your partner or with your friends or anything. So you gotta love it. You gotta love it. And I think,
and that's not to say that like the 9 to 5 isn't it for you, because
it could be.
My dad worked for 45 years as a firefighter, but he loved it. I remember the day he came to, he comes to our house all the time into the garage because his tools are in there. He just shows up on his own. He has a remote, so. Hear the garage door open. Oh, Dad's here. He walks in and he's digging through some stuff. And I'm like, you all right? He's like, yeah, I'm just feeling off today. I'm like, well, what'd you do today? He goes, well, I went to the firehouse today and brought home all my stuff. He just retired. And I'm like everything? He goes, yeah, like stuff that's been there for 40 plus years. I'm like, well, don't you think that has something to do with the fact that you're not feeling right? He goes, yeah, you could make a good point. I'm like, dude loved what he did. And he spent his life doing that. So that's like, he pursued his passion working a so-called prison job. But if you love it,
it's not.
That's
what makes the distinction is how do you feel doing it? You know, like, do you feel a sense of duty? Do you feel like you have some ownership? Do you feel like you're contributing? I think that at our core, everybody's purpose is the same, and it's to contribute. Like, and then you can, there's nuance in that, and everybody's their contribution is going to be different, but you're contributing to the betterment of the whole, right? And when people feel useful and they feel like they're contributing, they feel valued. Yeah. That's the starting point right there. So if you have a job that you feel like you enjoy it, you like what you do, when you enjoy it and you like what you do, you're going to constantly strive to get better at it. Like it's just, there's so many things that
move you up.
that are mixed in. Exactly. But then you're contributing to a mission or a goal that you believe in.
Yeah. You feel passionate about. Yeah. That's how I knew that I wasn't supposed to be working where I was working. I worked at Boeing.
Oh, nice.
And
I mean, the insurance there was fantastic.
I mean, and I will say,
respectable company. Yeah.
I will say, like, some of the engineers that worked with me, they like are obsessed with airplanes. They love airplanes. They're passionate about it. So they're sitting at a desk doing electrical wiring for something that they are geeking out over. Like, I love that for them.
Yeah.
But I was sitting at my desk being like, I would like
I'd rather be
anywhere else than here. And I think that one of the things I actually told Alex when I wanted to quit, I was like, I don't feel like I'm putting any value towards this company. Like, I'm just like an empty shell, like robot doing this job. Like, and I'm not valuing what I'm doing, and I don't even know if they're valuing what I'm doing because I don't feel like I'm contributing to anything.
And we'd already started the business. It was photo only because I was doing a corporate video job, which I loved, but that's a different story. And that's, as soon as she said that, that's when we decided to make a game plan. Like, we need an exit strategy.
Yeah.
I was like, I just don't feel like I am making a mark on anything. I don't feel like I'm changing anybody's lives or making a difference. Like, I want to make a difference.
Yeah.
So that's when I was like, screw this job.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, the reality is, like I said, you can make money doing anything. And, and like the thing that, what did you mention to me earlier? You're like, we could, or talk through your story a little bit.
The limiting mindset thing?
Self-limiting mindset.
Yes.
Okay. So, or self-limiting beliefs. So, the thing that helped me, because some people see the way that I live now. Like, for example, I quit a job making close to $250,000 a year, working 4 days a week, make my own schedule, chill. It's a dream job on paper to go and start a coffee company, invest all my money in that. Now I'm broke, like before I was killing it, and I was a guy, I could pay for all the meals and take trips whenever I want to. And now I'm freaking broke, and I work 7 days a week,
but you love
open
it.
and close. Yeah. And, and so some people, they see that, but they see that fearlessness. They see like, man, how could you just walk away from this such a safe, secure,
I got that when
nice
I walked
job?
away from Boeing.
Yeah.
People judged me.
Yeah.
My
like,
dad,
what are you doing?
My dad actually said, you're making the worst decision of your life.
His dad, when I told him, I was like, hey, I'm going to quit Boeing and start like pursuing my business full time. He was like, you're making the biggest mistake of your life.
Well,
fast forward though, he totally
does not feel that way.
It. Well, well, I think they're just projecting their own self-limiting beliefs, right? And people, they don't believe that they're capable of like working back up to the point that they're currently at, or even exceeding that, doing anything else. And so the thing that helped me overcome, like I genuinely have a fearlessness now. One is just because I've already lost everything, and I know that if I lose everything again, I could build something.
You've already done it once.
Yeah. So I do have that advantage over some people. Yeah. So I'm completely fearless in that sense. But also, what really changed my life was reading biographies, and I read a lot. And when I was in prison, I started reading just anything and everything, but I read my first biography when I was in prison. And what it did was, first of all, when you're reading a biography, you're reading about these larger than life figures, these people that like literally single-handedly impacted the history of the world, or the way, like Steve Jobs is one of my favorite biographies, right? Man. There's one of him by Walter Isaacson that's insane. But I read it, and I'm reading, when you read through the early years before the Steve Jobs that you read through the early years,
pre-Pixar,
and you're like, well, you're just like, pre. I mean, I'm talking about how he grew up, went to high school, he was a kid, and I'm like, this dude is just like me. You know, it humanizes biographies. They humanize these big figures. So then I read like Nelson Mandela, I read Gandhi, I've read Hitler, I've read like people that literally impacted the world.
Yeah.
And you realize that these people really, they're not extraordinary in any sense. They're ordinary people that were able to do extraordinary things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just, I don't know what it did, but something clicked in my brain where I'm like, if it could be done by anyone, then I could do it too.
Yeah.
Like if anybody could do it, then I could do it.
Are you going to
write a book? I get asked that often. And I'm definitely not going to say no, because I actually love writing.
Yeah.
But you know what I tell everybody? I'm like, well, when I have something to write about, I will.
I think you do,
I'm here,
Mark.
I swear. I'm like, whenever I feel like I got something good to write about, I might.
I give it 10 years.
Yeah.
I'll have a book.
We'll see. We'll see.
So let's kind of fast forward and like do a quick little wrap up of like, what did it look like for you starting Omen? Like, what was that process like? And I guess where did the idea and the passion behind that come from?
I mean, you already said you had been out of prison. You'd worked probably 2 different jobs at this point.
Mm-hmm, 2, yeah.
Okay.
Well, one was my own, and then the other one was at First Form. But yeah, I don't know. I had kind of imagined. I always wanted to open a coffee shop, but I always thought I would just do it as like my side project.
Are you passionate about coffee?
No, I really, yeah. I like coffee a lot.
Who doesn't like coffee?
Oh yeah.
And it has like a nostalgia for me because I started drinking coffee seriously when I was like in prison, and I would wake up, on the early mornings and before everybody else would wake up, and it would just be the only time of the day that I was like quiet, and I would be able to just sit and pray and journal, and that was just my time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I literally became the person I am today, like, over those cups of coffee. So
Yeah.
So then you are passionate about it. Because if that...
No, it's the nostalgia. Like I want to share the things that I discovered in those mornings, like gratitude and peace and happiness, and
over something common, like a
over
cup of
something
coffee.
everybody.
I want to share that with people.
Okay.
I want them to have that same experience that I had. But also, like I think coffee shops are terrific for bringing people together. Mm-hmm. What we're trying to do at Omen is essentially recreate like a town square of old, where people come and you see all the people in your neighborhood, and you exchange your highs and buys and your pleasantries, and you update people on what's going on in your life or what's coming up. And yeah, I don't know. I'm really I'm obsessed with this idea. Like I used to hear the saying when I was a kid, it takes a village to raise a child. But I think it just takes a village, period. Like I think that everybody needs a village, adults and kids alike. And when I see, like, there's a couple of things I see going on in society that I think that I could have an opportunity to contribute to the solution. One is rates of depression, anxiety, and mental illnesses, loneliness are higher than they've ever been.
Yeah.
Like we're more connected than we've ever been as a human race, but we're also more disconnected than we've ever been because we've convinced ourselves that connecting with people online
is a connection,
or through a digital medium is a connection, is sufficient. But I think that it's actually grossly insufficient. And I think
100%.
that the longer that we lean into those digital connections and continue to neglect the face-to-face human connections, the more that you'll see that mental health crisis continue to climb, right? Mm-hmm. And and then the other thing is there's a lot of social tension, more than I've ever seen in my lifetime in America right now, where it just depends, you name it.
Because of beliefs in politics.
There's so many movements, right?
Yeah.
It's the gays and the blacks and the whites and the and then you have the
Democrats and Republicans.
The Democrats,
literally
Republicans,
everything.
conservative,
everything.
liberal. There's abortion. There's all these hot and super emotionally charged issues, and what the internet has created through 2 different things. One is the algorithms. No matter where you are on the internet, they feed you more of what you like and what you look at, right?
Yeah.
And so it's inevitable that the more time you spend online, the more of an echo chamber you end up experiencing.
Yeah.
And so you lose the perspective that there is actually an incredibly diverse set of beliefs and opinions and ways of life and
That's
culture.
why we don't watch the news.
Yeah.
We do not watch the news.
But it doesn't matter. If you
if
open
you're
up your
online,
phone,
it's
it's
the
the
same.
same.
Right. If you open up your phone, the news is there in a different type of medium. But
it kind of forces the disappearance of the diversity of thought and belief and way of life out there.
Yeah.
And so when people experience it, it's almost intolerable to them because they're not used to it,
right.
You know?
Or they're not used to having face-to-face conversations that are okay to have. They're used to the online conversations where it's a little bit more
when they're protected by a screen, they can say whatever they want.
Well, yes, that's one thing. When we were kids, and I know this sounds bad, but like, remember, I used to fight a lot. Like, whatever came out of your mouth, you had to be willing to get punched in the face for it.
Yep.
Like, if you weren't willing to get punched in the face for saying it, then don't say it.
Literally have been punched in the face for saying stuff before.
Exactly.
Yeah. I literally have.
And a lot of guys that are younger than us, like the 25 and under, they've never been punched in their face before.
Yeah.
Right.
And I know that sounds barbaric, but like,
could use a good punch in the face.
It would change the world. It would literally change our culture immediately.
Yeah.
And so, in fact, I got asked on a different podcast, if I became president, you know, that question, what's one thing that you would do? And I said, verified accounts only on the internet, no matter where you are. Anywhere on the internet, you have to have identity verification so that everything that you say, you actually can be held accountable for. Like, that just drives me nuts so much. And so anyway, like we're all, and what I see is that the internet is just intensifying the tension, because now there's a scenario where, like, if you say one thing or if you make one post, like, let's say that you like a post that's like pro-life or pro-choice, I don't really care, but you like this post and somebody sees that you like the post, and they're like, she's a raging conservative, she's a Trumper, and they just lump you into all this stuff because you did one thing, and they don't actually know you, but they assessed you as a whole person based on the one thing that you did. And like, that's just so toxic.
And it's not even stuff like that hot button. Like, there's issues with people, just someone liked a post and this person didn't like the post.
Here's the deal. We're pretty controversial. If you like a post from Omen and somebody sees that you liked Omen's post, they'll say, oh, you like Omen? You must be
ABC.
This, yes. Yeah. And so, you know, that's just so toxic and counterproductive, because I think that most people are good. I think, and what I'm trying to explain to a lot of the people in our community, and the reason why I'm so passionate about bringing people together in person, I think the solution is getting people to talk to each other in real life again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because when you're in my coffee shop, there's gay people in there, there's straight people in there may be trans people in there, there's there's blacks, there's whites, there's Democrats, there's Republicans, there's entrepreneurs, there's employees, there's stay-at-home moms, and they're all sitting there. And in that moment, they
just are drinking their cup of coffee.
Care
about anything.
They don't care about any of that.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of those hard conversations. Like, I intentionally
make it uncomfortable.
No, it's not uncomfortable. That's what I want people to see. It's like, I intentionally start a hard conversation every chance I get. I told my buddy this
to make uncomfortable not
normal.
uncomfortable.
To make it normal.
Yeah.
To make it normal.
Yeah.
And I explained to them, like, we all live in this community. We all ought to have something to say about what's going on.
Yeah.
Because even if,
like I said kind of earlier, growth comes from being uncomfortable.
It does.
And having those uncomfortable conversations.
Well, also when I was growing up, man, it was a thing to agree to disagree. Like, my dad.
And that's what makes the world go around.
That's what makes it go
great. If everyone
great.
had the same opinion, the world would be so boring.
It would be so boring. But also, it's just like, we're in a tough spot, because we're in a spot where if we, like, our government was created to be a government of the people. And being a politician was supposed to be an act of service. Like, let's say 50 years ago and before, politicians would be these people who, like, they own a general store or a garage or something like that. And then
they had a passion about making the world a better place.
They basically get propped up by the people in their community and be like, hey, you should run for this.
By the people, for the people.
Yeah, you should run for it. And they would be like, all right, I guess I'll do it. But their main gig is over here. Yeah. They're a member of this community, and then they just speak for it, right?
Yeah.
And these conversations would happen, and we'd talk about, what do we want, what do we don't want, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, what do we value, what's not valued. And they would just go and basically carry out the will of the people. Well, when the community stops talking about these issues that we should be talking about, we should be talking about, like, how our tax dollars are spent. That's a pretty, like, easy one to go after. But we also should be talking about, like, bathroom policies. This is a really hot topic in our country right now. We should be talking about that. Like, do women's bathrooms stay women's bathrooms, or do we allow a variety of people to go into women's bathrooms? I think that's an important topic, and we should be talking about it. It's not easy. We should be talking about, you know, like during COVID, we should have been talking about why is Target still open, but the guy that his livelihood is this grocery store that he operates in my neighborhood,
the only one,
and he's closed.
Yeah.
Why is he closed and they're open?
Yeah.
You know, if this is about safety, why are we funneling all the same everybody in the whole city to the same few places? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Literally.
But we should have been talking about it. But because our culture right now, there's like this cancel culture thing.
Yeah, I hate that.
And as soon as you like ask an earnest question, you know, it's just
people
like,
are just defensive.
It's just like them seeing you make one little comment in a conversation and then taking a screenshot of that comment taking it out of context, putting it on their Instagram story and being like,
and then narrating it like they actually know what you're saying.
She's an anti-vaxxer, right?
Yeah.
But it's completely out of context. Well, like, when we say something, if we even ask an earnest question, people are like, oh, you're a bigot, or you're a skeptic, or you're a conspiracy theorist, or you're this, or you're that.
Yeah.
They have all these names, and it's created a scenario where people won't talk about it.
Yeah.
They won't talk about it at all. And then because of the way our country was formed and our government was formed, like, that's dangerous, because what happens...
I mean, if you want to cut this out, you can. But I experienced that, was it before 2020? I had asked, we have a lot of friends in the police force. And
it was in 2020.
It was in 2020.
Or 21.
There was something
last big, like,
there was something, I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was something big with a police officer making a mistake with a black man, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I had generally asked on Facebook to start a conversation, and I was like, can someone, and it was a question. I said, we have a lot of police officer friends. You don't have to comment on here because I know that's
DM
like,
me if you want.
I was like, please DM me. I am generally curious of how this situation is okay. And because I posed that question.
It was an event that happened at a protest, is what the video
because
was.
I posed that question wanting to learn from other people's perspective because I didn't know. One of our friends' wife was like, you don't support the police, you don't support my husband, which was our best man in our wedding. And I'm like, are you insane? Like, I'm just trying to learn.
And my dad's been a firefighter 45 years, and I know first responders.
I'm like, I'm not saying I disagree.
Family.
I'm not saying I agree. I'm saying I'm asking a question that I want an answer to because I don't know.
Yeah.
And you're saying I don't support the police?
It's so tough because we're supposed to have those conversations. And and because of the way our country's structured, when we stop having those conversations, what happens is instead of policy being dictated from people up and implemented and then coming back down and affecting culture, you have people at the top dictating policy down because nobody's having conversations down here.
Yeah.
Nobody's willing to talk about it. And I just think we're in a, you know, I know that at every point throughout history, every generation has said we're in a pivotal moment, you know, for our country, our community, or whatever in history. But I really do believe that, like, we're in a sticky situation with the internet, you know, with the echo chambers, the algorithmic nature of the internet, and then also with cancel culture and people being afraid to have hard conversations or to ask earnest questions. This is why we do the men's and the women's group at Omen.
I was just about to bring that up.
Literally the only reason that we started, the main motivation, was to just bring back what we call it is just public discourse.
Yeah.
Like, hey, can we let's just talk about it, because the internet would have you believe that everybody out there, you know, thinks that, I'm sorry, I have to say this, but you can cut it out if you want to, but everybody out there thinks that a trans woman is a woman. And I'm sorry, you know, like, for me, I think about, like, what I want a biological man in the locker room with my daughter or with, you know, my wife. And it's hard for me. And when I ask those questions of, like, hey, do we think this is the best policy, or are there any other alternative options to making these, helping these people feel included and valued, because they should be. 100% I'm on board with that. They should be. But, like, I don't want, you know, to value their feelings over the safety of, you know, the majority. Like, I'm a utilitarian in the sense of, like, I always, in the absence of a perfect solution, I'm like, what's the most good for the most amount of people?
Yeah.
Like, on every topic.
And that's hard. Like, that's probably, I don't know what I'm trying to really say here, but that makes the most sense to me in my brain as well, because at the very grassroots of things, you're not going to please everyone. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
And so that's just a very practical approach, and it's worked throughout all of history.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, when you do that, when you're a utilitarian, there are always people who get the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
There's a minority of people
Which is
who
hard.
get it, and it's very difficult.
Yeah.
But like being a leader is hard because there's no perfect solutions,
Right.
and you have to make hard
yeah.
decisions. And so,
And then with the advent of social media, what you get
what they do is magnify that.
It's
Yeah.
the,
They
the
look at the-
loudest
they look at the
people,
minority.
The loudest people are the extreme minority.
And they say, "Poor me, poor me, poor me, poor me," and there's some validity to the complaint.
And that's from all sides.
But exactly.
All sides.
Yeah. And that's what makes it difficult, is that to observe too, is because you're like, well, they kind of have a point there. And then you want to help them out, because you're like, okay, they're kind of right. They did get the short end of the stick. How can we make it right? But the overcorrection doesn't make any sense.
No. Right.
Because now you're
It's more
overcorrecting at
difficult.
the expense of the majority.
Right.
Yeah.
You know? And
so then you get backlash on that side too. It's just like,
but the internet would have you believe that like everybody thinks that we should be catering to the minority in all these different topics, not just the one I brought up. Just, I've been attacked on the internet several times for being transphobic and homophobic. And so I like to address that one specifically whenever I get the opportunity to, because I'm truly not. I value like I always tell people, like, when you've been where I've been, like, I don't wish bad on anybody. I really don't. And like, my number one core value is freedom. And what these people don't understand about me is like, they say that, but they don't, like, I was very, very adamantly pro gay marriage. You know why? I'm actually pretty spiritual, it's not aligned with my values, but I'm pro because you're an adult and you should be able to do whatever you want. My number one core value is freedom.
Yeah.
And I would be just as much as I value my own opportunity to live my life how I see fit.
you value that for other people.
I can't value it. I can't truly value it for me if I don't value it for you too.
Right.
I'm lying if I say that.
You would be a hypocrite.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like, that's what a lot of these people don't understand, is like, when you're an adult, even the transgender stuff, I truly don't understand. I truly don't. And it's just ignorance and lack of experience, because I'm not in that position. But it doesn't matter. I don't have to understand. I don't have to understand.
All you have to do is respect other people.
I have to exactly.
And let you do you.
That's you.
Yep.
That's you. And I'll let you do that. You know. But
how Alex and I have built everything, and that's how we live our lives. Is like, you know, we have seen close friends of ours get canceled over some stupid shit, but then also some pretty actually
some legit
stuff.
Some legit stuff, but also it was so heavy that like people screw up.
Yeah.
Should they be canceled?
Yeah, let them off the hook.
Something that like Alex and I have kind of just, you know, who we are as people, but then also bringing it to our business, our core values with our business and how we live our lives, because to me, business is personal. But as long as we have integrity and we are kind and honest, nobody can ever cancel us, because like, we are just always going to be honest. And you can be, what am I trying to say? You can be honest in a kind way and still say something that somebody's not going to like. But as long as you present it in a way that you can't really get mad at, like you're just being kind about it.
They can get mad. I promise you.
Yes,
they will.
I know. But like, as long as you know that you're doing the right way or presenting it the right way, there's not much that they can hold against you.
Yeah.
And that's something that we like really push for just everything that we do in life, is like, as long as we're honest, kind, and have integrity and treat everybody with respect, like, we'll be fine.
I mean, I'm an Enneagram 8, so like, I try to do that, but sometimes it comes across as
directness.
As very direct.
Me too, bro. Me too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, long story short, that is what we're trying to do at Omen, is just bring back sort of like the village way of living of old. Like I think that you ought to know your neighbors. I think you ought to know the names of the people that live in your neighborhood. I think you ought to know what their kids' names are and what they look like. I think we ought to be able to hold each other accountable. We don't have to be in a relationship. We don't even have to be great friends.
We don't have to agree on the same stuff.
For me to be like, hey, like, are you really showing up like the way that you want to right now?
Yeah.
Or like,
and just holding each other accountable for that.
Even if you're, if you drop garbage, you throw garbage on the ground, and I'd be like, hey, come on, we both live here. Don't do that.
That's my biggest pet peeve.
But I can hold you accountable.
Yeah.
These days, you can't even hold people accountable.
Right.
They want to fight. They want to attack you. But like me holding you accountable is not only for your best interest, it's our best interest because we both live here.
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to bring back that kind of stuff,
Yeah,
I really do. And so we try so hard on just bringing people in and creating a hive of energy. And we do these Omen socials, and we do the men's group, and we do the women's group. And it's just all very...
and you do yoga.
It's all, we do yoga. We have a run group. We do a lot. But it's all tied to just...
bringing people together.
It's so calculated. Like, why we do the physical stuff is because I learned at First Form that nothing forges camaraderie like doing physically hard things together. Mm-hmm. Like when you see each other suffer, it just creates this respect. We do the men's and women's group because we can't do what we're trying to do. You can't build that village kind of community without trust. There has to be trust that like, I have your best interests at heart. Mm-hmm. Like even if you don't like me, well, when you can be vulnerable with one another, you start to it develops trust.
It builds natural trust. Yeah.
So like everything is really intentional, and if we just keep chipping away at these, pretty soon we have this camaraderie, we have trust, we have an acknowledgement that we're all on the same team and we're all trying to accomplish the same thing. And at that point, maybe we won't be too late. Maybe we will be too late, but maybe we'll be able to have some conversations. Then not only that, but like keeping our money local.
Yeah.
Like money is your power. So like I want to try to create a network effect where, okay, I know that you guys do video and photo, and you guys know that I do coffee, and I've got some real estate guys, and I've got all these people in the same room. Yeah. Okay, well, let's just all use each other.
Be mutually beneficial.
Because power and influence, grows there. And now you have local people.
And if you do that, you're building your local community.
This is what we're trying to do.
You're not feeding Starbucks, you're not feeding Walmart.
And it makes St. Louis a better place to live for everybody.
Yeah.
For real. I always snap on people. I'm like, dude, Amazon is not going to donate to your kid's school fundraiser.
No.
Like, they're not. They're not even paying taxes in the city of St. Louis. So you're going to keep hitting that same pothole every day on your way to work because you're buying this stuff from Amazon rather than from the guy that lives on the same street, know?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, man, it's just, we got our work cut out for us. I kind of left at First Form. I really did climb a mountain really fast. I went from the newest employee to the number one employee in 3 years. But like, I don't think that I think this mountain's going to take me a lot longer than 3 years. To
it's
climb,
the entrepreneur mountain.
Yeah. It's going to be fun though.
Yeah.
You get to ski down some mountains too, and then climb back up the other one.
Nah, this mountain's uphill both ways, bro.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing all that. I think that there was so much value in everything that you said today. I'm just kind of like, to be honest, I'm a little bit in awe of you. It's very impressive. So yeah. Thank you for sharing your story.
I really appreciate you guys having me on. I love good conversations, and and ethical entrepreneurship is actually what I think of it as. It's like, just entrepreneurship with a cause. You got to have something that lights you up. And fortunately, I found something, and it keeps me busy.
Yeah, that's awesome. So where can everyone find you? On the internet.
Omen Coffee Co.
Co.
Just follow the Omen Coffee Co. Instagram.
Yeah.
That really
you guys are pretty active on there.
I'm the one that manages it. So if you shoot us a DM, or if somebody responds to a comment or comments on your stuff, that's always me. So.
And are you guys hiring right now?
We actually are hiring right now.
You're in St. Louis and you want to make coffee and you want to connect with people.
Well, if you have good people skills, I really don't care about your coffee skills.
You can learn to make coffee.
Yeah. So how can people look at how to apply?
They can just reach out to us on Instagram.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much again for being here and sharing your story. I'm sure people will connect with that and appreciate that and value that. So that's awesome. Absolutely. All right, guys, that's pretty much it for today. Yeah, that's it. So if you like this and you're watching on YouTube, definitely give it a thumbs up and subscribe. We're still trying to build those reviews on Spotify and Apple, right?
Mostly Apple. I don't think Spotify does reviews.
Oh, okay.
I don't really know.
It does.
Does?
Yeah.
Perfect.
It does stars.
Most of our people are on Apple, so.
Yeah, so give us a review. 5 stars.
Do all the things.
5 stars. Yeah.
And if you don't want to give 5 stars,
I always say, like, the review, it takes literally 2 seconds to leave a review.
Yeah.
Like, all you have to do is click review, and it's just going to pop up. There's 5 stars. You just click the one all the way to the right. and press submit. That's it.
Yeah.
And if you're tempted to press the one to the left, just maybe wait.
Just wait.
Listen
to another episode, not mine.
Yeah, go to a different episode. Yeah. But yeah, so we appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.